Good morning to everyone. My name is Tacea Ana and I'm a student at the Head University to ICM program. And today I'm going to talk to you about how can effective communication lead a business to success. First, I'm going to show you my table of content. We're going to start with a short introduction, and then we're going to talk about bilateral and unilateral communication, then downward communication, and after this, the most important part of our presentation, internal communication, which we all know that we studied last semester. And related to the internal communication, we're going to have to talk about communication tools, and in the end, we're going to conclude. So now the short introduction. Business communication is also called professional communication and organizational communication, and it refers to the communication that is taking place into the workspace. So, according to Air University, professional communication first began to emerge in the 1920s when the business started expanding. So this growth led to the need for a more structured form of communication within organization. The need for structure proves that communication needs to have a better way to do it. So, in the business world, communication is important in the daily operation, but actually this also affects the business and the sales. Without good communication of a business, internal and external structure of a company could be affected and ultimately could damage the company. Now, communication is extremely important within a business, and every good business should be built upon it. Communication makes a business grow and develop, but in the same time helps you to instruct and develop and educate your employees. Now we're going to talk about what does bilateral communication stands for. So actually what this really means. So bilateral communication is actually a two-way communication way that has defined as a transcript format in the way that a message is sent to your employees and they have to receive it and comprehend it in a good way. Now, we're going to talk about unilateral communication or one-way communication. So, when it comes to organization, one-way communication is often the easier way to say, to transmit the information, but it's often also the bad way to do it. So, only by creating channels that operate in two directions, back and forth from the employees to employee, the message can be transmitted in the right way. There are ins and outs of these methods, and they are also very complex and complicated. And the managers need to feel it and know how to do it. The effects of communication. We're going to talk now. So when a communication lines are open between your company and your customers, they can directly affect the sales of a business. When a business effectively communicates with prospects, customers, it can transfer the information to them and tell them what are the benefits that can convert these future customers into actual customers. So good communication ultimately boosts the bottom line of your business. So there are many benefits of good communication. When the internal forces of a business are working toward communicating the same message to the vendors, suppliers, and customers, good communication can also lead to a boost in sales for the businesses. So essentially, good communication creates a win-win situation. Now, we're going to talk about downward communication, which is the flow of information from higher levels of management to subordinate individuals working within an organization. Business managers often need to be very skilled at downward communication in order to motivate the staff working under them. Now we're going to talk about the internal communication. We know that downward communication, bilateral communication, and unilateral communication are very important, but internal communication is the most important one. So internal communication is a subset. I'm going to go here. Okay, internal communication is a subset of effective business communication, which is built a simple foundation. Communication is a dialogue, not a monologue. In fact, communication is a dual listening process. So, internal communication in the context of a business, it's a dialogic process between the employees and the employer, and between employees and employees. And so many times, this process is forgotten by the PR, and it should be remembered that communication between the employees and employees is often more powerful than any communication from the employer to the employee. So now, what activities and tactics are traditionally used for internal communication? So over the year, there have evolved various ways of communication internally. So we started with informal and formal one-to-one or one-to-many meetings where the boss communicates in a highly one-way fashion with their employees. And of course, the employees after the meeting, they just got together and expressed their opinion in an informal way. That's also communicated and then evolved to the printing materials that are like newsletter, annual reports, or memos of the business and so on. But with the advent of the digital technology, and in particular the internet, introduced the email in the business setting, and this changed everything. Okay, so training took place among the managers of the higher companies to explain them that what can bad communication do to their company, and this is really important to communicate in a better way and to train themselves in order to do that. So now we're going to talk also about the techniques and technology used to communicate, and those are. So we're going to talk also, the techniques and technologies. So those are email, intranet, staff meetings, voice email, video, broadcasting, corporate newsletter, annual reports. There are so many. What is important is that the company choose the right methods that could work very well with their company and with the situation. So now, what is the importance of internal communication, and why do smart organizations really use it? So smart organizations recognize that employees will always talk with each other. So it's better to set the agenda and informal discussion points than have them dictated to the uninformed staff. So it's better to provide from the beginning information to your staff, so then they can not have that space to fill it in with whatever they want. Now we're going to talk about the most three important elements of internal communication. So first of all, it's focused on one specific strategic business issue. And of course, it's written in the language that the receiver is able to comprehend. So in an organization where the language is English, nobody is going to receive a message in their native language. So it has an outcome that is specific and measurable. Now we're going to talk about communication tools. So an effective communication campaign is going to have to use some of these communication tools like intranet, publication and other printing materials, public services and broadcasting, and media relations, spokesperson and events. Events are used so often nowadays in order to create a special day or awards giving or exhibition or even seminars to train their people. So tools often depends on the strategic goal of the company and the objective of the communication purpose and the profile of the target audience. But also they depend on the advantages and disadvantages of each tool and of course of the budget of the company. So in order to get to a conclusion, good communication it's essentially in building a team effective and cohesive teamwork. So good communication skills are essential to managing the performance of your team. So in order to, you have to apply it very well in order to get to good communication work around you. So essentially is to managing also the performance of your team members. So if your manager has high communication skills, this can lead also to increase the performance of your team members. Also, communication are crucial when dealing with customers and with their complaints. So when you receive complaints from your customer, it's very good to know how to behave with them and how to reduce this complaint in an effective way. So basically, your skills as a communication are felt nearly in all your business dealings, and if you and your teammates are communicating well, you can maximize your efficiency you find about issue A earlier and you know how to manage them. So having a good communication skill is like having a good IT system. Information flow faster, this saves money and also leads you to success. So thank you for your attention.